Hit it! Mother's Milk Me.
That's Chris playing that guitar, huh?
It is.
Yep.
You knew that?
I knew that.
He's playing the drums too.
No, I programmed the drums. I played bass and keyboards. I programmed the drums.
Guitar sounded good.
Thanks.
He was ripping.
Yeah.
You should hear the back half though, right?
Yeah.
The solo.
Yeah.
He hits the whammy.
Oh, hit the whammy bar?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, no, he whams it.
It is not. It's a wah-wah pedal, dude. It's different. Oh, my God.
You are a wah-wah pedal. Anyways.
Wow.
So, you want an intro?
No, please do.
Jump
You're
in.
doing such a good job.
No, go for it. Okay, I'll do it. So, today, very special guest. He was on like episode 2 or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. He's been sniffing dudes' thongs this whole time, and now he's back. Professor.
Allegedly.
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 Yes.
Yes, Professor.
Professor, 4th degree black belt, Andrew Solhiem.
Yay.
Clap, you old
I'm
piece
clapping.
of crap.
It hurts when I clap.
He's clapping inside.
Yeah.
He's hitting that whammy bar.
Yeah. He's making the
guys
booty.
Stop. You guys are pissing me off with that. Never mind.
Okay.
I'll have to school you guys on proper music stuff.
Well,
Anyway.
that's debatable.
Yeah.
So, thank you for coming. Thank you
Absolutely.
for carpooling with me.
Yes. Thank you for letting me sit in your dog's seat.
Yeah. We're both part of the golden retriever life. And if you have a couple goldens or at least one that's 145 pounds, they're going to shed a lot. So your car becomes a hair magnet.
Especially this time of year.
Yeah, it's brutal. But what we're going to do today is we're going to talk tournament mindset, prep, post-tournament mindset, just all-encompassing, right?
Yeah.
And because we just had the biggest tournament in the Northwest, really, the Revolution, it's fantastic. It's really good. 2,500 plus competitors. Yep. We both competed in it, and we had our own challenges to the lead up, and we got a lot of questions about competition, and just as being coaches, we all get questions about stuff. So we figured, let's just chop it up. Let's smoke a doobie, drink some whiskey, and talk about it.
Yeah, that was kind of the purpose of this, because as a coach, that's one of the things that I think people struggle with the most is the mental aspect of competing. The physical aspect, not as much, unless you go out there and get hurt, unfortunately. But usually it's the mind, and that's the hardest thing to teach. It's the hardest thing to coach, and it's really, really hard to do it in 5 minutes following a class.
Yes.
Hey, can I just bring up something that
Sure.
Andrew is coming in here with typed notes that looks incredibly well formatted and bullet pointed, by the way.
Yeah.
Bullet points.
He knows how to use Word.
I'm just saying. This is
Yeah.
he just like he was saying earlier. We just leveled up the podcast.
Yeah.
Can't promise it's all spelt correctly, but we got close.
It does put to shame. So people need to know this, because it's borderline embarrassing, but also endearing. Is at the tournament, we had Dr. Chris Hardy showed up to the tournament with a clipboard.
Yep.
And all the smooth comp printed out.
Yep.
I mean, A for effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
A for effort.
Look, you don't mess with anybody with a clipboard.
You don't,
You just
especially
don't.
a metal one. I don't even know where you got that.
No, you just walk around with it. People think you're important.
It was crazy. So he whips out this metal clipboard with printed out smooth comp,
Mad assignments.
mat assignments to know where people need to be, and a stethoscope. It was crazy. He's just walking around with a stethoscope and a clipboard. And I think it was fantastic. It was definitely embarrassing because it aged you like a lot,
I understand.
but the organization was top notch.
Well, I just got to give a shout out to all of our coaches there at Rev, because with us competing in the morning, and we had a lot of upper belts competing, so you end up it's a shotgun start, and we're unavailable, and we couldn't do it. We couldn't participate if we didn't have a strong team behind us. And I appreciate everybody's effort and Chris going down and leading the charge on that.
Yeah, Bill. Thank you, Andrew. Bill's making fun of me. Thank you. Now I feel validated. So
Chris was the general.
Yes, he was.
He was the Hitler of our team.
He had outdated information. Outdated information.
It was outdated,
but he had it.
About 15 minutes in, it was completely cracked.
But at least I probably had mat assignments good. So.
I know that Mike Cook is going to be on mat 5 in the next 3 hours.
Yeah. It was helpful though. Then
for sure.
Then I would check with my phone and I'd put my glasses.
At least
on.
it was definitely got us to a good start.
Yeah.
And making sure that we had coaches on all the mats.
Yeah. And really, I mean, you already made the adjustment. You're going to just do an iPad next time.
Yeah.
And you'll always be updating and all that.
Well, the shame got to me. So
It's kind of a pain in the ass to also walk around with a clipboard.
Kind of is.
Like, can't put this in my pocket.
Well, you definitely don't give it to Lawrence because he'd probably hit one of our competitors with it that didn't listen to him.
Or yeah, literally the guy he's coaching.
Yeah.
So with that, that's what the episode's going to be. Probably going to be a little bit longer on this one. If it's crazy long, like a couple hours, we might split into 2. We'll see. But to kick it off, we did have a couple questions come in for specifically you, Chris. And I just want to touch on them because they did come in April 12th and April 14th. So
we're behind.
Yeah, just a little bit. Actually, the first question was April 10th. So I'm just going to jump into it. I don't even know what they say.
Cool.
So, excuse you.
Sorry. I was trying to hold it.
Did you sneeze and
too,
fart
so
at the same time?
Showed him doing that.
Well,
And belch, like in
they happen-
Grown-Ups.
Yes, it happens at the same time.
Does it?
Yes,
Every time?
every time.
So it's not like when it's pee-pee time, it's not always poo-poo time. When it's poo-poo time, it's always pee-pee time. You're saying when it's sneeze time, it's always fart
time. But when it's fart time, it's not always sneeze time.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did you say we had some questions there?
Look, we're only 10 minutes in. He's uncomfortable.
This is an educational podcast.
Let's go.
Jordan Loves Jiu-Jitsu would love this podcast.
Oh my gosh, Bill.
Can I just say that?
Bill, would
guts
you
me.
please
Okay.
get to the next question?
Our fellow here, he says, he's been listening for a while, and it finally happened. I got injured. I was rolling with my coach in Gig Harbor, MMA, and had a rib dislocate on me.
Oh.
I had to push the rib back in with my hand after the pop. I went to urgent care to try and get some information on care for the injury and how long to wait, but they were utterly useless.
That's why I was laughing.
Yeah. They were utterly useless to me and would not answer my questions. Awesome. The rib does pop if I move and twist. Verified with x-ray, nothing broken. Wondering if you guys have experience with this or know someone that has, and how long it should take to heal and what I should expect. He had an update 2 days later. Went to another doctor that actually gave a shit and dug into what's going on. Diagnosis is slipped rib syndrome. Any helpful tips on getting better quicker?
Yeah. So it's tough, man. That's a tough. I'm assuming your injury is at where the rib meets the sternum. That's where most of
Is this what's considered like a displaced rib, essentially?
So, yeah, you can sublux a rib because ribs connect to the sternum, especially through cartilage. Mm-hmm. And they absolutely can. That whole connection can get disrupted with force.
This is the one that I had that Carrie had to reset.
Yes.
And it was horrendous.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I would rather have a broken rib than this.
Really?
Yeah. Because 6 weeks, a broken rib heals.
The fracture, it'll just calcify or whatever.
Yeah. But at the attachment point, man, it's really bad.
You risk injury pretty easily.
You sure do. And
especially in that first bit.
So we just had one of our blue belts go through this. I've had not a displaced, subluxed rib, but I've had definitely that costochondral
Oh, yeah.
It's what was inflamed for a long time.
Costochondritis, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's where the attachment is. Costochondritis means, chondro means cartilage. Costo means rib. And so you have an inflammation where it attaches. He is an overachiever apparently, and just went ahead and
Just full bore.
yeah. So it's going to take a long time.
What is a long time?
So probably 6 to 8 weeks before it feels even halfway good again.
Should we say what you and the other physicians in the gym say? This is what the literature says.
And this is
what your doctor jiu-jitsu friend will say.
This is what I always say. I was like, do you want the doctor answer or the jiu-jitsu guy answer, right?
Yeah, abbreviated doctor answer, jiu-jitsu answer more so.
Yeah, the jiu-jitsu answer is like, when it starts feeling better, just start rolling again.
So I remember...
No, in all seriousness, though.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing around these things, especially when it's displaced, is you have to get it to heal. You can do some supportive things. I like using, just for comfort and reducing inflammation, I like the infrared red light thing. It's harder to find anymore. If you can find a physician that does peptides, like BPC 157 injections are super helpful to kind of help things heal up. You want to...
That stuff's magic.
It's really good.
I mean, it's...
Yeah, of course, now the FDA is cracking down on it, of course, because it works. But the biggest... And you can also... Find yourself a good local physical therapist, and they can probably do a little kinesio tape on you too for comfort. That'll help. It helps a lot. Depending on how hairy you are in the chest area, you may have to kind of shave a little bit of that to get the kinesio tape to stick. But that stuff works pretty well to kind of help.
And that stuff's not as straightforward to put on.
It is not. You don't just want to just throw it on there
or like stretch it real crazy and then attach it.
You definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So you go to someone that knows what they're doing with kinesio tape. You definitely don't want to put have stretch at the end attachment points, especially. There's a whole thing on it. But find yourself a good physical therapist that knows how to do that. For also that can be helpful. So acupuncture as well too can also help with increased blood flow to the area, kind of jump starting the healing process a little bit more.
Interesting.
All supportive type of things. Really, it's time, and really avoid the biggest thing you're going to get is like, especially like if someone has your back. Let's just say the worst possibility is a body triangle, and you're trying to worm your way out of it. These things really happen when the pelvis is locked in a position and your torso is twisting violently. That's usually how these rib injuries happen.
I was when I had mine.
Twisting mechanism.
Someone had my back.
Yeah,
and,
usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time.
I remember when I had it. I think I took a week off, and then I came back for drilling, and like what I could drill, like if we were drilling triangles, that wasn't going to happen just because the natural like cork, like
you're corkscrewing
and then jumping up to them.
Yeah, man.
But I know a big thing was I just kept coming at least to the gym.
Total. Oh,
Right.
of course. Yeah, definitely stay engaged, right? I know a lot of people sit there and even sit on the side, take notes, still be engaged and do what you can. But man, the danger is, and I do this all the time, so I'm being a hypocrite here. The danger is going to class, you're feeling a little better, and like, let's just do a light roll.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Maybe you got a little phlegm stuck in your throat still, but you're past it. And you just like to blow it out.
Yeah.
And then the next day you got hit by a truck.
Yeah, so that's the danger. But you should just really watch those forceful twisting mechanisms. I'm sure you figured that out already. But
And being in like a compromised, like non-strong position, right?
Totally. And like I said, but the kinesio tape's really interesting how it works. It actually can help the brain with proprioception, the position sense. It will help pain too. So that's definitely something I would do for a supportive thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that would help. And then the other things are supportive as well. The red light, near infrared, that kind of thing.
I remember, I think it was probably 4 to 5 weeks till I felt like, I mean, I started sparring only a couple weeks later with the smallest people. And it was like very little, it was like flow rolling essentially. Right. But I remember it probably was like 5 weeks till I felt like I could put actually more effort in.
Yeah, and if it sounds like he's really kind of separated that thing,
Yeah.
that's a little longer. Yeah, I would say 6 to 8 conservative.
Okay.
Yep.
I had one. I had one shortly after I got my black belt where it popped. Guy went for an arm bar. And it extended the arm. And as soon as it extended, I popped right here.
Oh, yeah.
You actually still feel a bump.
Interesting.
But it was really weird because it hurt really bad in the beginning. Hard to breathe. Very painful to breathe.
Yeah.
And this was like a Friday night or something. And then by Monday, I was feeling good again, which was really weird. I was kind of, but...
Yeah, where you're pointing to is actually where the rib, the bony part of the rib...
Take your shirt off.
...interfaces with... So in those lower ribs... bone becomes cartilage before they all direct back up to the sternum. That's a little different.
Towards the
Yeah. So you have a large part. So those are rough too because those can be unstable. It's a little different than some of the upper ribs. That'd be helpful to know a little bit too because the ones that almost directly connect to the sternum, whether it's a lower rib or upper rib.
Did you cry?
No.
It's painful though. It hurts to breathe and cough and
It
sneeze.
was a little shocking at first because it's like you couldn't breathe.
Do you believe you didn't cry?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I was just wondering.
I do.
Don't get defensive.
Holy cow, dude. At least he's here so he can smack you with his good hand.
He's got short arms.
Good hand.
His table's long. Okay.
All right.
We're going to move on to the second question.
Okay.
Good transition, Bill. Yeah. So this fella, we're going to use the term Voldemort for people that are new listeners. Voldemort is our term so YouTube doesn't start banning us for the petulance.
Speaking of the virus that shall not be named.
Yes, in the last 4 years. So,
So dumb.
he says, I'm a 25-year-old purple belt. And ever since I had Voldemort in 22, I have not been the same. My cardio is not what it used to be. I used to roll for an hour straight and be tired, but just fine. Now I can barely go through 2 5-minute rounds without gassing out. I have constant brain fog, headaches, fatigue, nausea, anxiety, depression, joint pain, digestive issues, weight gain, and shortness of breath. I rarely struggled with any of this before I had Voldemort. I, for the most part, had a clean bill of health my whole life, and now I feel terrible more than I feel good. I barely train anymore because although I still have that passion for training, I don't have the energy like I used to. I've talked to friends and some coworkers, and they just say, yeah, I feel weird too, but that's about it. The only thing I can really think of is some sort of inflammatory response to the Voldemort. I was wondering if you or your wife have come across this often in either of your medical practice or otherwise. Any and all advice is appreciated. And then he said, I forgot to add that and mention that I have not been vaccinated, and I don't know if that matters, but since it's a question related, I figured I would mention it.
Yeah, that last part I'm going to respectfully dodge because I don't want to get called out for nonsense. It's probably, no, it didn't. It would have probably been worse.
Well, if he was. Yeah.
Just with this, what he has going on. So this
with the last thing.
Yeah, so.
I mean, in the room, we have someone that dealt with this, Olivia, quite severely.
I can tell you, so in my practice.
And yourself,
in my practice, though, I do because there are work-related, it's considered a work-related injury.
Mm-hmm.
But Carrie is a subject matter expert on this.
Yes.
Okay, she belongs to the FLCCC, the Frontline Critical Care Alliance, basically. Yeah. There's just a group of doctors that got together that are trying to figure some stuff out with this.
Mm-hmm.
This long, after a viral syndrome, it has a picture very much like what we call chronic fatigue syndrome. And he's exactly right. There seems to be a residual neuroinflammation that happens in a mitochondrial dysfunction. Okay, just for you listening, the mitochondria are kind of the powerhouses of the cell. They're the things that produce energy. If you go to the FLCCC site, they have a whole section on treatment protocols for this post-viral kind of syndrome. And there is a ton of stuff you'd want to try. Some of it you can do without a doctor. Some of them you need to find a doctor. Carrie is very, very involved with this and is still treating people, and many very successfully. But I'll tell you,
this fella is local.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend, if he's that local,
He's not at our gym, but he is
to find someone like Carrie, and especially I can just vouch for her knowledge on this. It's really good. There's so many things. There's so many different approaches. There's no cookie cutter approach, but in general, here's the thing. What I found is graded exercise, even when you feel like shit. Okay, so what I mean by that is start off with walks, because exercise produces brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which is actually anti-inflammatory to the in the brain itself. It's really important. There's a bunch of things that I know Carrie has tried, but you'll have to work with a doctor like Carrie, like low-dose naltrexone, fluvoxamine, creatine, believe it or not, at higher doses, all kinds of things. But they're all these things seem to work via the mitochondria or reducing neuroinflammation.
Liv, do you want to talk about some of the stuff that helped you? Because, I mean, some of these symptoms are literally what you had for a long time.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, you're asking her to give her medical information out, basically.
What's your social? If you don't want it, it's fine.
No.
But
I mean, I know exercising even when I didn't want to, because I had
that was
really
huge.
bad
vertigo,
dizziness, my
brain fog.
I had brain fog. My head felt like it was constantly buzzing. Like I had vibrations throughout my entire body, like for months. But exercise was huge for literally after exercising is when I would feel the most normal. Like I felt normal again. And so I would just keep going back to exercise.
Not intense exercise too. It wasn't like a hard workout.
Well, I mean, I'd go into jiu-jitsu, so whatever that was.
But it was a graded man. What she's talking about is still doing it. Just knowing you're not going to be able to, but it's a graded thing. Right. So go ahead.
Oh, and then I just, like for the nausea and stuff, I just remember the only thing that helped me with that was Pepcid AC, because I think it's an H2 blocker, right? Or something like that. Yeah. So famotidine. So that was the only thing. But then obviously I don't take that anymore. But it probably took me like a good 2 years to finally, probably this year is like the first year where I feel like solid, like back. Like
I remember when you were having flare-ups with the nervous system.
Oh, yeah.
The acupuncture
that
was a game changer.
It can be real helpful too.
Which was in the ear.
The auricular acupuncture especially.
Cutting out caffeine, cutting out, basically I only drink water. And
so
cut out a lot of sugar.
Gosh, this is such a good question. I don't want to take too much time either. Yeah, it's not. That wasn't a compliment for you. But reducing the flight or fight system, the sympathetic nervous system, which is inherently inflammatory. And so auricular acupuncture, ear acupuncture really hits the vagus nerve, has a lot of anti-inflammatory actions as well too. But you really need to work with a good functional medicine doc like my wife, who will, because not what works for Olivia. And I dealt with this too. Okay. Mine was a good 6 months I dealt with it. The dizziness, the just feeling like I didn't have any energy.
It was like shocking.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
Not to mention the old age too, but no. No, I'm just joking. But my point is, what works for one person may not for another. And I know the treatment approaches that Carrie uses are varied, and some things work phenomenally well. That's that individualized medicine thing. So if you are local, do yourself a favor. Carrie is... She, on a case-by-case basis, will probably accept a new patient, especially if you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner and you have this specifically you want to work on. Yeah, I think just make sure if you do, let the office know what you're trying to do.
If, I've met this guy. I've met him once. Nice guy, too. And so if there is an interest... email, just say, hey, I'd love to kind of like see if Carrie has the ability, because she is she's quite packed. But if that is availability is there and I can kind of steer in the right direction, to at least start a conversation.
She usually will if you're seeing someone just for one thing. So getting a new primary care is a different thing.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
That's where she's really full, right?
Yeah. But like if someone's going to her just for hormones or just for PRP or just for maybe something, you have a better chance of getting it.
So yeah, just reply to the email and after you hear this and say, I'm down.
It's a tough one. And I've been in the literature constantly trying to do the best for my own patients too. So it's tough.
Yeah. With that, obviously, if you guys got more questions, always send them in. I know we're stockpiling a lot of the hormone stuff, the TRT stuff, the testosterone for when Carrie comes on. But for now, we got someone else on. That's the old Big Ginge himself.
Let's do it.
Stop hiding it. Show him what you got.
Show him what I got. What I'm working with?
Let's see it. That's pure.
It's a little bit messy. Hat hair.
It's okay. It's okay. It's a little bald, but it's not bad.
It's not bald, dude.
I'm just saying in the middle.
In the middle.
That's it.
Eli always gives me crap about my hairline. Oh, yeah.
That's because he's got that, what's that? That straight bussin' style haircut where it's like all curly on the top. And
yeah, he's got curly now.
Yeah, he's straight bussin', yo.
Straight bussin'?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
He's zesty.
That's what the kids say.
Oh, okay.
I think it means like something's good. It tastes good.
Okay.
Dude, I'm not even going to mention anything.
Henry's Donuts are bussin'.
Straight bussin'.
Yeah.
Dude.
Though that jelly donut was a little mid.
Yeah, there you go.
I know that one. I taught you that one, Bill.
Last time I tried to do this, I tried to do something like this. My daughter just looked at me and shook her head.
Because you said the N-word?
Jeez, dude. No.
What is wrong with you?
Oh, God, that's a whole podcast. Okay, please, let's actually get some good information here from our professor that's nice enough to join us.
So where would you...
Wild Bill. You never know what he's going to do.
If I get my Shroot Farms sweatshirt on, you're all done.
Watch out.
It's spicy. I'm drinking Mountain Dew today.
Oh, gosh.
So where do you want to start? Tournament mindset.
Oh, man, it's hard to start. Where do you start with something like that? I would just kind of maybe start with, I'll start with where I started off. Yeah. As a coach, one of the things that I see, and I mentioned this earlier, students struggle the most with is like the mindset portion of competition. Because we tell ourselves so many lies about
yes.
it. And so what happens is that we start to kind of get in our own head. Some people would call it noise, listening to the noise. And it could sound something like one that you hear a lot. I just got promoted. I'm not ready to compete yet. I just got my blue belt. I can't compete at the blue belts yet.
Right.
Right?
Like I'm not a blue belt. Like, or something like they're almost talking as if they're not.
Or I didn't win at blue belt. I just got promoted to purple belt. So what business do I have to be competing at purple belt if I didn't win at blue belt? I'm not going to win at purple belt. Mm-hmm. It's just noise, because the fact is that happens all the time where guys just break out. You know what I mean?
There's so many examples too. Pro grapplers to guys in our own gym.
Yeah, guys in our own gym. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's Kyle, one of our black belts. When he was coming up through the ranks, he would compete all the time. Very, very consistent competitor. And he would always have really good tournaments. Kyle kind of surprised me because he's kind of a quiet guy, right? He's not really, he's just kind of reserved. But the first time I saw him compete, it's like, wow, man, that guy's locked in. And you could just see it before the match that he's locked in. And then he went out and competed, and he's like, oh man, he's a straight killer. Did awesome. But he would always make it like pretty deep into the tournament, and then maybe get to the final, and then it didn't go his way, But then, he was one of those guys. He got his purple belt, went in, won the first tournament, he entered as a purple. I mean, that happens all the time. There's a bunch of different noise. There's a bunch of different things that are not true that we'll tell ourselves. And in that specific example, you got promoted for a reason. And chances are you got your whatever belt it is. Maybe you went white to blue, like I used for an initial example. And maybe at your last white belt tournament, maybe you didn't win that tournament. You go to the blue belt tournament, you're going to see maybe a lot of the guys that were in your division also got promoted. And what'll happen, especially locally, is you'll come up with a similar group through the ranks.
Yeah.
And you'll start seeing the same guys over and over again.
Yeah.
less so now versus a while ago because the growth of jiu-jitsu has been so huge and the divisions are quite a bit bigger now.
Right.
That is definitely I see that a lot out of students.
Do you try to tell them to like just trust that your professor, your coach, promoted you for a reason? He's got a pretty good grasp on what that level is, and he wouldn't put his name on you in print, if you will.
Yeah.
You're imprinting on us. You're marking us. And you would not imprint me if I was not worthy of your
Just stop.
being in your ward.
Oh my God.
Is that right?
Oh.
In your ward? Right?
Dude, I'm
Sounds
not
like
even
Twilight.
gonna. I'm gonna watch you hang yourself. This is fantastic.
Bill does
look
a
at this
really
guy.
good job of blending serious with goofiness, and it always takes you back. Because I'm not, I get like locked in on something. I'm like,
You do get locked in.
I'm serious right now, and then the goofiness catches me off guard
We
every
were
time.
just talking about this, how we are a complete opposite. Like, we're both actually quite goofy. And
Yes.
we talk every day and about random stuff. But when it comes to like tournaments, we are totally opposite for like the, when we're there, right? And it's like, you are kind of like the laser focus. I'm going to war.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm going to like start tickling the guy in like bullpen that I'm going to go
I think you
against.
did that.
I did, I
think you did it.
I saw Marquez and I was like, come here, you little devil.
It is true. I'm like this with a lot of things, and I mean, maybe intense is the right word. I don't know. But, and sometimes it comes across maybe like I'm unapproachable, but it's just because I get very locked in on what I'm doing. I mean, look, I made notes for this podcast.
You did.
Right. So I get a little bit, and that's hard it's just my personality, right? I get locked in, I get focused, and, my processes, that's where I kind of operate, but everybody operates in a different spot. Right. So when I'm getting ready to compete, I'm not necessarily, I'm not really talking to a whole lot of people. I'm just trying to get my mind ready, you know? And that's my process. Everybody has their own process. You know, you're like way more jovial, and that's awesome. I mean, if that's what you do to bring out the best in yourself, then that's your process and do it.
Secretly, I just want them not to try as hard and be like, oh, this guy's so nice. But then I come out trying hard and they're like, whoa, where did the fun guy come from?
I was wondering about this
Trickster.
this example here, though. Someone that just got their blue belt is
Yeah.
worried about competing with blue belt. You know, you're also competing to get the reps in, right? So whether the outcome is there or not, you're there to get your reps in. And starting right away, I mean, it's not like this, oh, well, I lost my first blue belt match. I might will not compete anymore, right? That's the wrong mindset.
I'd like to tell people, like, and this is just for my own self, it works or it helps, is you're just practicing, like all these tournaments at all the colored belts is just practice for when you're a black belt. Then it matters. Now, when you become a black belt, then you might put too much weight on it at that point and be like, oh, now I'm a black belt.
You start tickling your opponent.
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, these things are dangerous. These fingers, what do you call these?
Digits?
No, they're
Phalanges.
Phalanges?
Right?
Unfortunately.
Nailed it. So these phalanges are dangerous.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
But
I believe you.
I tell them this is just practice for when you're a black belt, so don't treat it so seriously.
Well, I'd even say, I often talk about it this way.
Yeah.
So perspective is huge. When you go compete, keeping things in perspective. At the end of the day, we're lucky enough that we're able to do jiu-jitsu, right? We're healthy enough to be able to physically express ourselves through jiu-jitsu. And we're even more on a different level to do that in a competitive environment. But in the grand scheme of things, a win or a loss there shouldn't be the end of the world, right? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't make you the best in the world if you win the tournament. It doesn't mean you suck if you don't. It's a means to an end. And I've mentioned this before where if you shift your perspective and you think about where you want to be, and you can pick any point in the future. It could be 3 years from now. Like, hey, 2020, maybe you're a younger blue belt. 2027, I want that version of me. I want that version of me to be the best possible version that he can be or she can be, right? How do I get there? Do I deny myself growing opportunities because all this outside noise? Or do I put that aside, go seek out the experience, because that's what's going to help that future me achieve the levels that they could, that they would otherwise not be able to achieve, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not focused on the me here and now. You're focused on who you're going to become, and you feed that person through experience.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I remember it stuck with me. You've said it multiple times to me, but not the best person wins in tournament matches. Like, the person with better jiu-jitsu, not saying all the time, but often will not win the match. That it's not an indicator of your jiu-jitsu being like everything you've just done for the last year to 10 years, whatever it is not just thrown out because you lost.
Yeah.
Like, the better competitor is not always the better jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Or even if they are, it doesn't discredit what you've done. Mm-hmm. You know, and oftentimes you see people with really good jiu-jitsu just slip up, make a mistake. That happens. It's we put way too much weight on results of an individual tournament, right? I see that
6-minute moment.
Right. Well, you see that more and more. And one of the things I think that we have, one of the issues that we face is that we have a society who puts way too much emphasis on winners and losers. And that's exacerbated by social media. I'm seeing it with youth students in particular. I have one youth student who's super talented. I try to push him out of his comfort zone a little bit. Hey, let's get you out competing. And hesitant to compete. Ultra good, super tough, mentally strong. If I told you who it was, you'd be shocked. But a little hesitant to compete. And I think I see that more and more with youth. And it's no wonder, because if you go online, if you go on Twitter after the NBA Finals and you look at the comments, you're going to see a bunch of people in the comment section who don't put themselves out there criticizing others that do, right? And so kids see this, we see this. And so, I mean, imagine a kid looking at that going, man, LeBron James is like the greatest athlete that's ever existed. And even he is getting torn down because he didn't win.
Did you see the thing with Jordan Burroughs?
No.
So he most likely had his last match this weekend.
Yeah.
Like his final match ever, right? Or professional, I guess. And as he's walking off, now, for people that don't know, Jordan Burroughs is maybe the greatest wrestler ever. Like, he's, at least in America, like, he's definitely up there in the conversation. As he's walking off, some guy in the crowd, because you know how you have to walk through like a tunnel, like normal. He's leaning over and he says, "Career's over. You suck. Your career's done with."
No.
Yes.
You can hear it?
Oh, yeah. You can hear it in the video. And he stops and then starts jawing at him. Then another guy's jawing at the guy in the crowd. But even, you're talking Olympic champion, world's multiple time, all this is getting that kind of treatment.
Yeah. Hey, Olivia, can you pull up the quote by Theodore Roosevelt, the critic?
I got it right here.
Do you have it?
Oh,
Look at that, dude.
that's amazing.
You guys were kissing before this, weren't you?
You have that. You have Theodore Roosevelt's
Yeah,
quote. It's
I have
my
it.
favorite. It's my favorite quote.
I have it right here.
Well, go ahead and read it now.
Okay. All right. So
That's
what
crazy.
Chris is referring to is obviously a quote by Theodore Roosevelt, and it's called "The Man in the Arena." And it goes like this. It says, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there's no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold, timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat."
That is.
You're trying to make me cry right now.
It's
I had that up on my wall in dive school back in '93. Yeah.
When would you find like it was helpful? In what moments?
Just what he was talking about. When people have that hesitancy of like they're going to get judged for failure. Do you know how few people will put themselves out there in the first place? Not just jiu-jitsu, which is, we're narrowing down that funnel.
Right.
But then compete. That is so far out of a lot of people's comfort zones. And that is the whole point is whether you win or lose, you are having growth. And you're not just sitting on the sidelines. Those are sad little people that are just
cold,
there.
timid souls.
That's exactly what they are. So that's always resonated with me strongly.
Yeah.
That's hilarious that you had that on.
You guys are just playing tummy sticks. What?
Just stop.
I can't.
Can't,
I know you
can't
can't.
stop, won't stop.
Drop it like it's hot.
No, I do think that does resonate a lot with what we're seeing, because so many people will rob them of themselves of opportunity because they're afraid of being judged.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when it comes down to it, that even those that are the people that are making those criticisms, they don't matter. They really don't. And I hate to see people cut themselves short because they're afraid of the outcome, right? So that being said, one of the things I try to help emphasize to people, and I might be getting a little ahead of myself here, but I'm pretty sure there's more to be said about that. If it comes back to me, it will. But is trying to shift your focus from the result. Right? Our culture is so big into winning and losing. If you look at the Japanese, they're much more about the process, and the process of going through this process is going to sharpen us. It's going to make us stronger people. And like Chris said, it's not just about just the jiu-jitsu growth. I mean, that bleeds out into all other areas of life.
That's that whole Kaizen thing, right? Just that constantly sharpening and improving.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, the kid that learns, you could be an adult. I mean, I'm putting it as emphasizing as a kid, because I'm seeing that the youth are becoming more timid, more scared to put themselves out there. But if they learn how to deal with defeat, and they learn how to accept wins and losses and move on, that child who's maybe he's 10 now, if that kid embraces those things and those lessons when he's 13, he's going to be much further along than he would have been had he stayed on the sidelines because he was scared of the criticisms, right? And not only is he going to learn that, he's going to learn how to deal with wins and losses. He's going to learn to keep moving forward and to help better themselves.
Just failure in life in all areas, and then get back up and keep moving.
All of a sudden, he or she's in high school. Maybe they're starting to apply for colleges. They're having to deal with that rejection, and they're all of a sudden they're able to deal with that a lot better.
Starting in a business or something like
they're going to take more chances in life,
sure.
And that's what you want. You want people that are going to try and put themselves out there and help better themselves, and it doesn't just confine itself to a jiu-jitsu mat. That's just a lesson we can learn there that we can apply to other areas of our life.
I had a question. You're mentioning how you're seeing more youth having this timidity. Do you think that's because of social media? Because now people are becoming highlight reels of other people versus back in the day when we grew up, you didn't have anywhere to share this. It stayed with you, the photos and stuff like that. It wasn't out for everybody to see.
I think that's part of it. I have a controversial take on it, though. I think the parenting. I think we are not allowing kids, when they're falling down, the parents are all over them instead of like, you're fine. Brush it off. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think we have that helicopter parent type of thing going on. And I think it's stunting growth in that manner. I don't know what you guys think about that.
And it's social media is such a it's fake. You post your wins. You only post, and if you post a learning experience, you're good. Then it's I lost to the guy that won. I went up a weight division. Like, you're building in these kind of excuses. I battled through this and that, which is, maybe it's all valid. It's not actually taking away from that, because that is increasing your challenge. But it's how we're projecting stuff is always just typically the positive. It's like this fake facade of everything is always awesome at all times. My house is super clean.
Just putting a filter on everything, right?
Right, yeah. Not just on like your face, but like the filter of your life.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. It almost builds in like this, well, look at that person. They seem like they podium every single freaking tournament. Well, they're not posting when they don't, or that there was one person in their
or nobody
in their bracket or something like this, right? So it's definitely kind of a cancer for sure for people. And what do you think for someone, because this kind of is related here, where if someone had a tournament and it was, at least in their eyes, it was bad, they got throttled or something, like maybe they froze, whatever the reason is. There was just a better practitioner, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever. There's always someone better.
Yeah. That's the thing. And I actually like that you asked that question there, because that's one of the things I try to express upon students, right? Is that it's once again, it goes back to perspective. You can take that perspective of like, oh, I lost, it didn't go my way, and I'm not going to try. I'm done. I'm not going to put myself out there anymore, right? You can kind of withdraw from that, or you can look at it as a motivator. You could try to actually pick up some legitimate areas of improvement. Because you could pick up areas of improvement off a win, let alone a loss, right? We've all been there. And so you can look at the tangible aspects of it and evaluate, okay, these are the things I did well, because you probably did things well in the match too. These are the things I didn't do so well. And I'm going to go back now to skill development and sharpen these areas and kind of refine these areas. That from a physical standpoint, like technique. You could also analyze what went on in your head during those matches. I think that I'm big
that
on
maybe
that.
Caused a freezing or lack of pulling the trigger on whatever you're trying to do in the match.
You can analyze that and try and really think, because we've all been there. There was another quote, Vince Lombardi: "Fatigue makes cowards of all men."
That's right. That is true.
And we've all been there where you get tired and all of a sudden you start to doubt yourself mentally. So,
and if you haven't been there, that's probably an issue.
Yeah.
if you haven't been to that point where you're so fatigued that you're kind of getting scared almost, or like concerned, and that should be in the training room. You should not feel that for the first time against some stranger in a tournament.
That's why I had Chris bring in the Aerodyne bike leading up to this tournament. I was recovering. I had some stuff coming up before the tournament. I was able to have a bunch of gaps in my training, and I didn't believe in my cardio, which I do not like to have that doubt going in. Like, that's one thing I can control for the most part, but outside circumstances did not allow me to control that to the level that I wanted to. And luckily he brought in his Aerodyne bike, and oh my gosh, that thing just smoked me. So I try to get as much as I could. I wasn't quite where I wanted to be, but I was able to get as much as I could so that I was experiencing that in the room, or at least experiencing that doubt in the room of the fatigue makes cowards of all men.
Well, let me ask you this. This is kind of an off, but related. Do you think, regardless if you actually made measurable physiologic improvements with that Aerodyne bike, do you feel like just doing it and going through the process helped them and just mentally?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because you're putting yourself there where you're like, you're in that Tabata and you're doing your 20 seconds, your 10-second rest, 20 seconds, and you're having to like, okay, keep going. So yeah, you're
putting yourself in that moment.
That's right.
For a moment.
Yeah.
But you're getting that experience, living there for 4 minutes or whatever it is.
The misery.
That's an interesting.
That's what I was saying. Because
thing.
Yeah, it is. Because what's interesting, we should talk about how cardio works in the brain anyway sometime. Remind us to do that because it's really an interesting thing. It's not just physiological.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Well, having the confidence, even like, because I saw your confidence level, we're primary training partners because we're same size and age group and everything.
Exact same division.
Literally. And I saw your confidence go up as just from a trust perspective of, okay, you were pretty worried there about your cardio because you're right. It is one thing we can essentially control.
Right.
It's like, I can't control if this guy's going to be a powerhouse, a stud wrestler, whatever it is. You can't control that. But we can control if we trust that if I put a pace on someone, I'm going to survive. Or if they put a pace on me, I'm ready for it.
Yep.
And just from a mental standpoint, like having that trust, it's like, okay, I know I'm not going to at least get to that fatigue side of being scared for your life because you can barely breathe.
Yeah.
And from just a mental prep side, like I saw your confidence grow within that. And I didn't even think about that. Like he might not have had much of a actual tangible physical
the adaptation.
Increase in his lung capacity and all that.
That's what I'm saying.
But
there's more to it than that.
Just up in the mind.
Right.
Yeah, I just felt I needed something. I needed to be put to the brink somehow in the training room, and I hadn't been able to do that for various reasons. I mean, I was training.
And we anticipated 3 matches for you. Like you knew, you actually, for whatever reason, the brackets turned out you had a longer path than me.
Right.
I was on one side, you were on the other, and we're like, oh man, Andrew's going to have potentially three matches, if I lost too. So going into it, having that mental prep was big.
Yeah, and then and just going through it and leading up, having a couple, like I felt like I was just getting into rhythm, and then something came up, and I was like, I had to stop training.
Yes.
And then it would, right as soon as I get into rhythm, that happened a couple different times, and so just getting that in there and putting that in was big. But in any case, if you're not in that situation, you're just in a normal training situation where you don't have gaps in your training, and you got an ideal camp going into a tournament, like, okay, maybe you're training leading up and you're starting to get those hard rounds in. I think that's so crucial to be able to put your mind to test in the training room, so that way it's not new in the tournament. But I also, and I'll get back to what we could take from a loss in a second, but this is actually something we all get kind of focused on weird stuff going into tournament. Like, if they do this, I'm going to do that. And like, you can't control any of that. So it's wasted
Energy.
Wasted energy.
Yeah. That's so true.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So I hear it all the time, because I'm like, you can even ask, they're like, yeah, I think I'm going to pull this, and they're going to, it's like,
what if they pull guard?
What if that your plan doesn't survive first contact? Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's like a kind of a military parable.
I mean, you might have a general idea of what the guy likes to do and what you might go in to try, but you can't. You got to keep it really general. You can't get super specific there. You got to think macro, not micro on that. But one thing that you can do, and this is something we already talked about, a lot of people are afraid of losing. So one of the things you can do to help, I found that helps me deal with some of the anxiety of winning and losing and kind of taking my mind off the result, is to try to think about the things, once again, that I can control. And there's a term for it. You can call it neutral thinking, right? and that's a term that author Trevor Moawad uses. And he's actually, if people are interested in the book, it's called It Takes What It Takes. He deals a lot with mindset and
Is this the Russell Wilson guy?
He helped Russell Wilson. He was one of his best friends, but he's
in mindset coaches and
mindset
stuff.
coaches.
Okay.
He worked with a lot of athletes. But one of the things he talks about is thinking neutrally, which, if you're not familiar with that term, we're all familiar with like positive self-talk as opposed to negative self-talk. And one of the things that he kind of talks about in his book is that positive self-talk is better than negative self-talk, but it's really neutral thinking is really kind of where you're going to get the most out of an athlete. And what that means is, you put it in jiu-jitsu's perspective, you could envision yourself winning a match, winning gold, Okay, that's great. That's positive thinking. You're thinking positively. You're going to win the match. As opposed to the guy that's thinking, oh, man, I'm never going to win. This guy's super jacked.
Yeah.
Look at that guy's ears.
That's me.
I got a Brazilian in my division?
Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah. Right? But neutral thinking goes back to the things that you can control.
What if you walk in and you see dude doing the like Hickson dragon breath stuff with his stomach? I mean, are you walking out right there? Okay. It was a good donation to the tournament. I'll see you guys later at the scone line.
Yeah.
Get your T-shirt though.
Yeah, get your T-shirt.
Make sure you get the T-shirt. Yeah. I mean, there's that. We've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all been there. I remember when I was a kid, I did karate. And if I ended up with an Asian kid in my division, I thought that they knew karate. Their grandpa taught them.
Right. They learned from Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, I mean, you're a 10-year-old kid, and you're like, there's no way I'm beating this guy.
Yeah.
No.
Do you still have that with like Justin when you like slap and bump with Justin?
No.
He's like, oh man, he's got some sort of power.
Only because his shoulders.
And some quads.
Yeah.
He's got a set of
It's kind of jacked.
hammies on him.
He's kind of jacked.
And he kind of looks like Bolo Young a little bit. I mean, I'm saying
He does not.
okay, it's racist. I'm
You're
sorry.
completely. Oh my God, Justin, I'm sorry,
that
dude.
that was racist.
You are jacked, though.
Yeah, he is.
You are jacked.
Yeah.
Let's save this. You're jacked.
Yeah.
So you had a good role going before
I did.
Bill.
Before that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
I know, dude.
So where was I? Oh, neutral thinking.
Neutral thinking, yes.
Yeah. So neutral thinking it goes to things that you can control, right? So maybe instead of thinking about winning and losing, you start thinking about you could put it in terms of, if I'm on bottom, I'm going to be creating space. I'm going to be setting grips. I'm going to be first. He gives me too much space. I'm wrestling up. Crowds me. I'm getting underneath the hips. If they're on top, I'm gonna make sure that I'm controlling, disconnecting the feet.
Do you like to visualize those kind of moments? Like not just verbal in your head or whatever, but like visualizing initial grip and winning. He does this, and then you break that grip, and then get dominant grips.
Yeah,
like,
I think it is important to visualize yourself overcoming obstacle.
even
right?
those like mini battles within the greater battle.
Yeah, you want to envision yourself winning a tough scramble.
Yeah,
You may or may not.
sure.
But
as the lead up, because we're kind of in the prep stage a little bit, right?
Yeah. But even going back into that neutral phrasing, the neutral thinking, back to things I can control. I think that's more important, right? Things that are within your control. And when it comes to the cardio, one of the things that you can do, because we all, once again, going back to that fatigue, makes cowards of all men and women.
Thank you.
Lombardi didn't say that, but I just added it.
What a piece of shit.
Cancel Vince Lombardi.
Can they change the name of the trophy,
They
please?
They should. Anyway, how do I put this? Threw me off again.
That was him. He threw himself off.
I did throw myself off.
Come on. Pass and blame. How many donuts did you eat this week?
No comment.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
but
was,
No comment.
But it's looking up and seeing your face, that maniacal
comment.
little grin you got.
So when you're going into a match, one of the things that you can think that's neutral is that we know a lot of people are scared of losing. They're not really, that's what they fear the most. Make yourself comfortable and okay with the fact that you might lose the match. But what you want to do is like you said earlier, you want to find that spot where you start to doubt yourself. So if going back to the question is, what would you tell somebody who just lost a tournament or had a hard tournament? It depends on what you mean by a hard tournament. If that person had one of those moments where they felt they broke, I would tell that person, go into the next tournament and look for that moment. Don't run from it. Seek that moment out and win in that moment. And that doesn't mean that you won the match. It means you didn't let it beat you. If you got tired and you got to the point where you felt like quitting or you couldn't just, you had to stop fighting, maybe you gave up a guard pass because you kind of got gassed out. Look for that moment when you want to break mentally and don't break next time. That's something that you can control. It will have a direct result on the potential outcome.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're going to win. Doesn't mean, and even if you don't win, you can still be really proud of yourself that you freaking overcame that moment. Absolutely. And now what you have is you have an athlete who is going into a match seeking what other people fear most, fatiguing and losing. This person is looking for that moment because they want to test themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It really does.
Yeah, I know I've said this multiple times, but it's that mantra, it's the wrestler's, I don't know, like credo or
I was
something.
going to ask you about this because I couldn't remember it and I couldn't find it. I wanted to write it down in my notes because I thought that's a perfect neutral statement.
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
Yeah. So I'm not afraid to lose and I'm not afraid to make a mistake. That's like how you lead it. Because that's kind of most important right there. So I'm not afraid to lose and I'm not afraid to make a mistake. Because what you're saying is like, I think exact is we're not just afraid to lose. We're afraid to make an ass of ourselves when we try to do a pass and we like fall over and like essentially get swept by, it was kind of quote unquote dumb.
Right.
Whatever.
Because that guy that was heckling Jordan Burroughs is going to be on our ass.
Right. Exactly. We're waiting for you to come off the mat at the Rev.
Yeah.
Idiot! You suck!
Well, it's like Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heckler.
So I'm not
Shoot,
afraid.
are we going to go to Sizzler?
I'm not afraid to lose. I'm not afraid to make a mistake. I will be relentless. I will never give up. And I'm thankful to do jiu-jitsu, or I'm thankful to wrestle.
So that is a perfect neutral
statement.
And that's something somebody can say to themselves leading into a tournament. Everything about that's neutral. You're not saying you're going to win. You're going to, none of that stuff.
Right.
You are saying these are things I can control, and I'm going to use this mantra, and I'm going to repeat it in my head before the match. If it gets, also helps to get to a point like if you need to zero out in the match, to zero out and remember that.
What do you mean zero out?
Zero out meaning like it starts to get tough. That doubt starts to creep in. To be able to zero out and say, no, I need to get back to, I get to get back to grip fighting. I get to, you start to kind of cloud your thoughts. You got to get back to the fundamentals.
It's like a little reset.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, doing it even in the moment when you're maybe getting to one of those moments of fatigue or you're in a bad spot it's odd how in matches we have these moments of like, I mean, it's happening fast, but we have these like moments of clarity.
It slows down.
Yeah. Where I talked about that when I passed the guy's Adam's guard.
Yeah.
But he had a loop on. So he put a loop choke on me. I got the points and then it got tight. Yeah. And I had to roll to my back. And then I get out, but he switches it to a cross collar choke. And I'm gurgling.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone saw my fate that was Matt's side.
Yeah.
That I was like gurgling, spit's going. And all I see is Adam's gristled face just scrunching because he's trying to kill me in front of my family. And I had this moment where I thought about, I could tap right now I scored like 7 points. My first black belt match. I did fine.
Yeah.
I won today.
You're giving yourself an out.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. We got to talk about that. I gave myself an out to be like, if I tap right now, I'm going to get thumbs up from my teammates.
Yeah.
And Andrew's going to be like, dude, you did great. That guy's tough. Yeah. Oh, scones.
Scones are
I'll
waiting
put one
for you.
in my butt right now.
No.
Sorry. I got excited. So and then out of nowhere, I say, not yet. Not yet. And I got out of the choke. However, right? That had to have been like 4 seconds.
But it seemed like a lifetime.
I'm having a conversation with myself. I'm looking at Adam in his eyes as he's like snarling.
Yeah.
And like, what is that? Like, how does time slow down like that, where we can have these moments that you're talking about, where you can have a moment of a guy like inside control, smushing your chin and like all this, setting up a choke?
It's an evolutionary adaptation. You hear people say when they have a near-death experience, their life flashes before them.
Yeah.
Things slow down.
It's weird.
It's very strange.
So incredible.
Because you watch the match, you're like, wait a second, that was at least 30 seconds.
It's like boom, over. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think it was much like,
I was like, he only had you for like 3 or 4 seconds.
yeah. It was incredible. So it's really goes what you're saying, where if you can keep that stuff in the prep side at the forefront, so these neutral, kind of, what would you say, neutral thoughts and phrases and whatever, and then so that's at the forefront when you need it in the moment. Practice in the practice room too.
Yeah.
And like, wow, it can really be powerful.
That's the book there.
To this guy, put it in front of your face.
There.
Yep, there you go.
There we go. Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moad.
I like it.
Like you said, he's worked with a lot of high-level athletes. One of them was Russell Wilson. He was Russell Wilson's one of his good friends. But that's what Russ would say back when the football games would kind of start to snowball and get away from him. Because if you look at like the 2014 NFC Championship game against Green Bay, it couldn't get much worse. And he came back, they pulled him back out of
the one with the push
it. Was the one
in the end zone for the Hail Mary at the end?
No, this was the one where it was the walk-off to Jermaine Kearse. Remember, Russ threw like 5 picks in that game.
Yeah,
They were down. They had to come back in the late fourth quarter, and they were down 2 scores. They got back. They got a 2-point conversion, got an onside kick. They tied it up. Aaron Rodgers marched him down, kicked a field goal, and I can't remember how it all broke down, but they ended up going overtime and won. But Russ had a terrible game and then pulled him out, turned it around instantly.
I mean, that's what he's known for, is mentally being
Always in it.
one of the strongest, like top mentally strong people. When he's down, they always had that when they won the Super Bowl. Why not us?
Right.
Like, that's a kind of a
saying,
neutral term right there. Is just, why not us?
Right.
Like, we can beat ourselves up all the time of like you said, like, I'm not even a seasoned blue belt, or I'm not even the best blue belt or purple belt in my gym. How am I going to win a tournament? Well, why not you though?
Right.
Yeah.
Because once again, it goes to competition is a skill in of itself, right? So jiu-jitsu is a skill. It's a skill that we're constantly honing, right? Like, but being able to do that in a competitive environment on stage is a skill as well. Being able to, and that's one thing I tell myself is it's kind of a neutral statement. I want to bring my best jiu-jitsu to the mat. Meaning I want to be my best self on the competition mat. And if I do that, then I'm happy.
You've been doing jiu-jitsu how long?
26 years.
Black belt for
2009.
Yeah. A little bit of experience.
Yeah.
So when you talk about that, what you just said about the best competitor to know we win and stuff like that, like what, and you talk about, you remind yourself of that, right?
As far as the best competitor not always winning.
Yeah.
Well, the best competitor will typically win, but that doesn't mean that the person that didn't win that their jiu-jitsu is not as good or maybe even better, right? Because competition in of itself is a different skill.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna ask. What do you mean? Like, what makes someone a good competitor? Like, what are those things those things that kind of make that you've seen that make someone that, like, I've heard of Keenan Duarte in the training room. There's like Keenan talked about this. Hinger talked about this, that in the training room, it's not that you do what you want with him. Obviously, he's very good, but he doesn't seem like the guy that competes and wins everything, basically.
Yeah.
You wouldn't peg that guy as like, that guy goes out and beats literally everybody.
So he steps it up when the lights are on.
He's a good competitor.
Yeah.
What do you think helps make a good competitor?
I think it's a healthy balance of perspective and competitive nature. I think that you can be too competitive, right? And if you're too competitive, you're more susceptible to some of this noise, putting too much on the wins and losses because you're too competitive. So you want to be competitive, but have a healthy perspective at the same time.
Interesting. I can see that. I can see if you're too competitive, you will start going down mentally roads that do not help you at all.
Right. And if you're not competitive at all, you're not going to have the fire. So you need to have that fire, but you have to be able to allow yourself some grace. And if you're too competitive, sometimes you don't. Right. So, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that you can't become more competitive or you can't become less competitive. It's a skill. It's like, if you know that, you can practice it and kind of work on developing some strategies that help you keep perspective. Can help with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you have anything on that? Anything else on the person that had a tough tournament and they just suffered maybe tough loss? I mean, I know you said, hey, try to chase that moment that you felt yourself break or freeze or what have you.
Yeah. So get back out and try to get back out as soon as you can, because once again, I'm going to shift this person's perspective. Maybe this person, maybe she went out and had a tough tournament and it's like, this sucks. Right. I would say to this competitor or, maybe one of they just had a tough experience. I would say to that person, go out, do it again. Do it again as soon as you can. Right. Make yourself comfortable. Like you're uncomfortable now because you lost. Understand what people look up to, right? If you look at our culture, we're filled with stories of redemption. We love them. We love Rocky.
Yeah.
We love that story of an underdog. Winning is easy. It's what I mean by easy. It's not easy to win, but winning feels good. It's easy for us.
Yeah.
What's difficult is to pick yourself back up. So that person now has an opportunity in front of them to display strength of character.
Yeah.
And we value nothing more. We value strength of character above the guy that wins all the time.
Above the Instagram winner that it seems like everything's awesome. Totally. We totally value that person that had to go through hell.
Mental fortitude.
Fire. Like, we're gravitated towards that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's super admirable. And I'd say to that person, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, you have an opportunity in front of you. Go chase it. Go back out. Go do it again.
Shout out to everyone that responded about the Rudy comment, that admit that they cry when they watch Rudy every time, like me.
Yeah, Rudy. Another example.
You kidding me?
Yeah.
I know you cried too. There's not a chance.
Well,
2 peas in a pod here.
Come on.
What's wrong with you?
How much time do you have?
Gosh. What else you got on that little sheet?
Where
do you want to go with it?
I had some stuff in here, but I'll give you another example of, I wrote this down in here. I kind of missed my opportunity, but I'm going to bring it back real quick.
Do it.
Neutral statement. Another guy that Trevor worked with was Michael Johnson, sprinter. Olympic
He had that
gold medalist.
upright running style that seemed like kind of weird back then, remember? Like he would come out and then he just gold shoes.
Gold shoes.
I remember it.
But his neutral statement. This is an example of a neutral statement. Now, anybody can develop their own neutral statement, but I liked his because it's good because it's all stuff that he can.
This is what Michael Johnson would say?
Yeah.
Okay.
So his was, keep my head down, pump my arms, explode. I am a bullet. So this was his mantra prior to running. And he'd be down on the blocks. This is going through his head.
Yeah, because they try to, I think, stay down as long as they can coming out, right? Like
I don't know. I don't know the first
Yeah.
thing about sprinting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
But I like the statement. I like that everything in that he can control. He's not talking about he's going to beat anybody. He's not talking about how he's going to be the gold medalist. He's talking about tangible things that he can do that are going to help his chances of winning.
I'm going to try to institute this stuff. I don't
We have a perfect neutral statement in that wrestling. I mean, that's amazing.
I think, but from like even on those like kind of technical things, you know, of like get my overhand grip, secure the sleeve, you know, like just these like little things that will, you know, if I'm going to do an uchimata, like make sure I stomp the ground, you know, just those kind of like subtle, it's almost like you're pinpointing the key parts of what you're going to try.
Yeah, and jiu-jitsu is so different because like sprinting's it's going to be the same every time.
Right.
With jiu-jitsu, maybe I'm on bottom and I'm trying to escape a bad situation, in which case I need to create space. Mm-hmm. Right? So maybe I kind of frames, create space, get my feet involved, you know, or if I'm on top, I need to disconnect the grips. I need to disconnect the feet from my body so I can start to create angles for passing.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. So it could be a little bit more difficult. I think more general, maybe you know, it might be a good practice for us to develop a good neutral statement for jiu-jitsu. That's something we could work on. I've just tried to simply tell myself, I want to bring my best jiu-jitsu to the mat. That's all I want to bring. You know, so that takes me out of the worry of winning and losing. Just focus on bringing your best self out. And if you do, good things will come.
Or go ahead.
Go.
Well, we're kind of on the tip of people losing, having a tough mat or round, tournament, whatever. I think it's good, as we're all coaches, is talking about our feelings towards a student.
Oh, this is awesome.
That loses. And our perspective when that happens.
Yeah.
Because I think as competitors or just students, we will talk for our coaches in our own head. As in, like, we're going to put thoughts that...
You're projecting onto...
Yes, that like Andrew is going to think this, Chris is going to think this, or Bill's going to, whoever your coach is,
or their teammates,
their
spouse,
anybody.
Yeah.
But I know, especially from experience, that I would put so much pressure on myself because having the Cascade patch on and representing, like I treat it very seriously, like representing our school, and then. And maybe treat it more seriously than I should, but like representing my lineage of which is you, and putting almost putting too much value in my results and my performance will make you feel negatively about me or make other people feel negatively about you. Like I'll put that pressure on me.
Yeah,
especially coming. It's just yes.
Going back to what we were talking about is noise.
Literally.
So get back to that neutral thinking.
Yeah.
Get back to that what you can control and putting things in perspective. You know what we want. We want Bill from 3 years from now. That's what we're building toward, right? Go back to that thought process. And this tournament is not the end goal.
Yeah.
This tournament is a tool
Yeah.
to help us get better. So,
but as a coach, you know, especially being a head coach, right, is what are your thoughts when someone does have a Tough matter. Like I have an example. I'm going to call him out just because he's a good friend. Is Justin. Mm-hmm. He had a tough first match. Really tough.
Yep.
Against a judo brown belt. Like I'm already making excuses for him. And he lost.
But he came back out in his next match and did awesome.
Came back out, 34 points and a submission.
Yeah.
Now, like, it's like I valued that kind of a thing. Or we had another competitor, a white belt gal that had a tough first match, came out second match, and had those moments where she could have froze, or she could have had because it was against the same competitor, which is like almost harder.
Yeah.
You feel like you just got beat up by one, and then you got to go against them again.
Yeah.
You're getting every opportunity to say, I think my thumb is a little sore or something. I think I'm out of here. And she fought through some of the same positions, right? And got out of them.
That's awesome.
Like those two things I look at as being almost more impressive than a 35-second submission.
So there was instant improvement.
Yes.
Like improvement from the first match to the second in both cases. Mm-hmm. That's what we're after, right?
Yeah.
Like that's so you're
in the pit that you're in after such a negative thing, or what can be perceived as negative.
Yep.
And getting out of not letting it just bury us.
That's what I love about Rev is that you get a consolation match. Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe your first match doesn't go your way, but you get immediate chance to go shake it off. Mm-hmm. And that's awesome. The thing is there's a lot of competitors who I have a deep amount of respect for, even at this last Rev, even black belts who I know are studs. Mm-hmm. That didn't go their way that day. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that I think that any of us would think anything less of them.
Right.
And it could have just been just as easily been you and I, and people aren't going to think less of us either. Mm-hmm. It's just one tournament. I think it's important to understand that that's not a reflection of us as a whole. Mm-hmm. And you can look at it. This is why I'm a proponent of just getting a lot of experience, just doing it as much as you can, as much as you are able to, because the more you compete, the more you give yourself an opportunity to grow and to have those successes, right? One of the things I wrote down in here is like what success looks like potentially in other sports, right? So, and I think this is important with jiu-jitsu too, because I think a lot of people have this mindset that you got to win all the time, or that you're winning a majority of the time, when in reality, you may not be. You're going to get those, maybe get those podiums, you get those golds every now and then. Mm-hmm. But like you were saying earlier, people don't post their failures. They only post their successes. Mm-hmm. Some people post honestly, which I always think is great. I appreciate it. But if you look at golf, right? Scotty Scheffler is the number one player in the world right now. Mm-hmm. Been on the PGA Tour since 2020. He's played in 120 PGA events. What do you suppose, how many events do you suppose, not majors, just PGA events in general, being that he's the number one golfer, knowing he's competed in 120 events?
Kind of like far and away the number one right now. Like
he's looking like, if he keeps this progression, he's going to be an all-time great.
Yeah.
Right? The guy's won the Masters 2 out of the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. So how many PGA wins does he have, do you suppose?
I would say between 10 and 20%.
Okay.
So for people like me, is that like
but just
10 to 20?
Just how many, it didn't matter.
So 10 to 20%. So if he was 10%, that means he would have won 12 events.
Okay.
To 24.
Look at the big brain on Bill. I said 10 to 20.
Yeah. 12 to 24. You were not in the range, but close.
Okay. That was a little aggressive.
That was
I told you I'm competitive.
that was a good one.
That's a pretty good guess. I feel like, let me put it out there to...
This Price is Right.
Yeah, 15 wins.
Okay. So Out of his 120 events, he has 9 wins. He's made 101 cuts. And for
This is because I know golf, though, too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think I would have guessed probably like 35, 40.
right.
But I know golf's crazy, so.
Yeah, golf's crazy.
Yeah.
120 events, 9 wins, 101 cuts made. For those of you guys that maybe aren't golfers, a lot of times they'll do a cut, so you need to make by a certain, like for the Masters, for example, it's a 4-day tournament. After day 2, they make a cut. You have to make the cut to continue playing.
It's like making day 2 of the ADCC trials.
Yes.
Like you had to do something to even get to the second
Yes.
day. Yeah.
8 runner-ups, 10 third places, 38 top 5, 51 top 10.
Which that's almost the most impressive part
Savage.
is 50
Top 10.
top 10s.
Yes.
Yeah.
In golf, that's
Yeah.
insane.
He's like the guy's doing amazing, but
Yeah.
9 wins out of 120. I think most people would think like, oh, I bet you people think that if you look at Tiger's numbers, you know, I don't have them with me, but check them out. You know, here's the best golfer in the world, and he's not winning every tournament, not even close,
Right.
not even
In
close.
an incredible, almost historic streak.
Less than 10%.
Yeah. It's kind of like in baseball, if you hit 300,
I was just about to say
you're
that.
in the Hall of Fame.
Got that right here.
I was about to say that.
We're kissing after this. That's it.
Yeah, 300 hitter.
You're not walking out of here without getting kissed on the lips, buddy.
I love it.
300 gets you literally in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Best top hitters ever, like Ichiro, right? I think his average was right around there.
Yeah, I mean, that means 7 out of 10 times.
You're yeah.
Failing,
Yep.
Yeah,
complete failure.
yeah.
But it's all perspective.
It's all perspective. So you could take if your tournament was not successful,
Yeah,
you had one tournament. Go do more, and
Right.
if you keep doing more and you work on some of these shifting your focus, shifting your mentality, redefining what it means to be successful,
yeah,
trying to improve your technical progression in the training room, trying to improve your ability as a competitor, and realizing that those two, they don't always line up. I think a lot of times we think, oh, we should be who we are in the training room. There's a thing called stage fright. It exists for a reason, right? That is a real thing. Performance anxiety.
yeah.
These are skills we can work on to get better, and we just continue to go. If you want to be a successful competitor, though, that's kind of, I think those are the best route
Yeah.
to take.
Liv, what were you grimacing about?
Oh, I found out Tiger Woods is
Let's hear him.
so
Do we guess? Tell us how many events.
1,028.
Oh my gosh, he's been golfing a long time. 1,000. So how many wins is what we're gonna say? 1,028. Of course, I want to guess low just to like do it, but knee-jerk reaction. Give me 150.
That's where I was gonna guess, right around there.
I was gonna go. So
I want to guess lower, just because I feel like it's like a trick, you know?
I was kind of gonna go low.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
It's not 150. Damn it. I know it's not.
I'm gonna say less than 100. I gotta say 80.
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
really close.
Am I?
It was 82 wins.
Wow.
Look at that. We suck.
I know.
Well, so the reason why I came up with that number is I'm looking at Scotty. Like we said, Scotty Scheffler's been on a historic rise.
Right.
So I'm looking at his less than 10%.
Yeah, he's trailing right below. I think I was doing the percentages. Like Tiger was around like 8.5%. Like he went, and then Scotty is like 7.9. So he's like right below.
Can you look up what's the Golden Bear? What's his
Jack
name?
Nicklaus.
Jack Nicklaus. Can you look up Jack Nicklaus
Dude,
for
you
us?
see that? Pull that shit out.
How did you know that?
Dude, come on.
You're not a golfer.
Do
Are
I
you?
have to be a golfer to know who Jack Nicklaus is?
I guess not.
He's from my era.
That's true because he's like 95, so that makes sense. You guys went to high school together.
I always get him and Jack Nicholson.
Oh, all the time. All the time.
Nicholson's the one at the
Shining.
Lakers game. Lakers games, right?
The Joker,
Yes.
The Shining.
Yes.
Shining.
And Lakers games.
Bill's a dull boy. What is that saying? What is it? In The Shining?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Of quote.
It's super good though. On this, I kind of want to throw in the question that I did on the solo episode, because we're kind of talking about prep, losses, how to deal with them, mindset. So we had a black belt email in, and I gave my 2 cents on this. He teaches the fundamentals class. He can only, because of his schedule, he pretty much can only train at the fundamentals class, but he likes to compete a lot. Mm-hmm. So he pretty much only has white and blue belts to train with.
Okay.
What would you recommend for this guy?
So he trains in the fundamental class.
Yeah, he teaches it.
Teaches the fundamental class.
Only white and blue belts.
It's only white and blue.
Yeah, and he trains 5 days a week.
So do we know what the structure of this class is? Is it our class with some rolling afterwards, or is it just class?
I think I don't know. It's a GB.
Okay.
So, which I mean, that could vary even within them, I guess. But I'm going to assume that there's, it's up to his structure, really, right? So, let's say he can kind of free go it and do drilling, situational, and then some sparring, let's say.
Okay.
He is getting some rounds in.
Okay. Getting rounds.
Yes.
That's what I was kind of getting at.
Yeah. So
he's getting rounds in with white and blue belts.
yes. And because of family, all that kind of stuff, he can't hang out for the next class, which is the more advanced guys are in that.
Is there any okay. I have a couple thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there,
because you started when you started your academy in 2010,
yeah, right around
right in there. It was that,
right.
like,
Yeah, you're starting from scratch.
mm-hmm.
So in everything is fundamentals. So there's nothing necessarily inherently wrong with just drilling fundamentals. I mean, look at Haja Gracie. The guy made a living out of fundamentals, So as far as the techniques, but then again, it depends on the athlete. Is the athlete more somebody that plays kind of more of an open game, maybe a little bit more?
He's not an adult competitor. He's our age group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that kind of suits your game, that could be a good thing for you just to really refine and lean into that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What
do you mean by that?
Be excellent at fundamentals and draw the match. When you compete, try to draw the match toward that. Right? Try to slow it down. Try to bring the match to where you want to execute solid fundamentals. Right? So it could be that you play close guard. Could be that.
So how in the practice room are you gonna?
That's why I was getting at. If you're training, your drills are mainly focused around fundamentals. Then in the practice room, I would ask, number one is, because I would like to see, typically I'd like to see the ideal situation for him to get some more advanced training partners. So if you can get some of the other advanced students from the gym to maybe, hey, I'm getting ready for a tournament. Can you come into fundamentals and train with me? Mm-hmm. Maybe you can help assist instruct. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you come in early for I don't know if the fundamentals is before or after the advanced.
Even if it was once a week.
Yeah. Just, hey, can you guys come in a little early so I can get some rounds in with you during my training time? That might be a big help.
Yeah.
If you can't, I would try to identify people that are, obviously you want to try and match close to size, strength, things like that obviously help.
Of the students that are in the
class. But then work on what maybe put yourself in bad situations.
That he did say he does that. He really tries to work deep stage stuff.
What about shark tanking?
Okay, I have to.
It's a good idea.
Correct myself.
Like put himself down.
Like let's say he sweeps. He'll have a bunch of guys waiting. Let's say he sweeps one. Then the next guy comes in.
Yeah.
Position. Or whatever you're.
Really stack the chips against him.
Yeah. Just keep pushing that cardio too.
What was that, Liv?
Sorry, I have to correct something. I wasn't looking in the right place for Tiger Woods. So
it's 150, isn't it?
No, he actually, for PGA like if we're going off the same numbers as Scheffler, he played 375 events and won 82 times.
Oh.
And then
he's had to have played more than 300.
Yeah, he's had to.
I'm just saying under the PGA Tour website for his results and career. I don't know.
That's a huge win percentage.
And because that Scotty Scheffler's numbers are
killing
correct.
the podcast, Tiger.
Yeah.
What was the other guy's
Thanks
name?
a lot,
He
buddy.
has to be more than 3 because if Scotty's played 120
Because that's like 25%.
and he's only played for a few years,
Yeah.
Tiger's been playing for damn near 2 decades, I think.
I don't know. For
Mid-90s?
Jack Nicklaus
Yeah,
says
so-
584 events and 73 tour wins, PGA Tour wins.
That's pretty freaking good too.
But it's the same numbers that they have for Scheffler. So
Oh, that he said the 120.
yeah. So if we're going off the same,
Something's got to be off. It's a different Tiger Woods.
Does it only go back so far? Or no, it must
Well, they
not.
check Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Weird. I call fake news.
Well, either way.
We'll edit that part out.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Thanks, Liv.
do
Don't
that.
don't talk
Let's do
about that anymore.
Damn Tiger.
So yeah, stacking the chips against them, right? Okay, like Shark Tanking. I could see that being good. I told him that I think if he can teach his students literally the way to beat him, like if he likes playing deep half
Oh, yeah.
or half guard, and teach these people exactly how to kill your favorite techniques.
Right.
Get them good at that. And then start trying to do it against them.
Yeah.
And even though they're a blue belt, you can have some blue belts that are hard to deal with, especially if you teach them how to deal with you.
Yes, that's what I was just gonna say. If they're really focused on shutting your game down, you know, you're really dialing everything in a very specific scenario.
Yeah. I told him he should, if he can, even once a month cross train someplace.
Yeah.
Just because there's going to be more flexibility with schedule, and then that feel of going against people that you're not used to.
Yeah, we talked about that before. You get a little butterflies, you get a little nerves.
Yeah.
It's almost like not really a tournament experience, but almost like a hybrid between training and a tournament. You know. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah. That'd be good.
it could be helpful.
What else you got?
That's it, man.
What about, so
All this for nothing.
take someone that had a good tournament. You talked about you can take stuff
This is
from
a-
winning.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? Because so often I think what happens is, the funny thing is I preach like, whether you lose, you got flying triangled in 15 seconds, or you flying triangled someone in 15, or you had a grueling match and you won, whatever. Phenomenal performance, middle range, horrible performance. Monday, you're coming into the gym and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to look at what you sucked at, why you didn't get that sweep, even though you submitted the guy. Why didn't I get this sweep? Why didn't I mount? Why didn't I finish the mount? Or whatever it is. You're going to look at what you need to improve on.
Right.
So take the results out. On Monday, it's going to be the same thing.
Yes.
But I need to take this medicine too. I often, when I win, I don't do that.
Right.
I just forget. I'm just like, I don't even, you talk about it like people that weren't there. They're like, oh, how was the match? And you talk about, oh, this happened. But sometimes I will not actually dig in and be like, okay, like my match breakdown. That was really helpful.
That's what I was going to say. That match breakdown.
That was really
good
helpful
idea for
because I had to watch the match,
right.
see my failed. I went for that choke to look like I was taking his back, but I was going for a choke. And then I lost the back.
Even that he's a that you
Yeah, that
that you
tightening the
When
he's a
you
groom
sat,
up.
yeah.
Because I almost got stuck. Exactly. And so by going through the video and talking through it, I'm able to like diagnose things. But okay, I got to work on that. But if I didn't do the match study, would I have really done that?
Yeah.
There's a good chance I wouldn't have. So what's your recommendation for someone that won or had a good tournament? What's your recommendation on what should they do to get actually better post?
Like you just said, I think it's good to watch the film. You can in a hopefully almost in any jiu-jitsu match, unless you just get completely brutalized, you could probably find some good and some bad, even in your wins, right? So I would try to highlight some of the good things that you did and highlight some of the areas that you want to improve. You know, and that kind of, okay, I was strong here. I missed this opportunity. I want to really drill that, you know, maybe, and it could be several things, right? Maybe you got too tunnel visioned.
Yeah.
And you weren't seeing opportunities present themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in that case, I just need to be a little bit, maybe I need to slow down a little bit. Maybe part of my neutral thinking needs to be, when in dominant position, I'm gonna relax.
Yeah.
And take what my opponent gives me, instead of forcing something that's not there. So there's a lot that we can do by breaking the film down. I think that's good to watch it a couple times. It doesn't have to spend a ton of time on it. Just watch it and just general thoughts. This is what I did well. This is what I didn't do so well. I want to improve here. I want to continue to strengthen this here.
How many times have you watched your match from?
I think twice, 3 times.
Because all your other ones finished within like 20 seconds.
I saw some areas that I was like, I was a little sloppy there. You know, trying to force something here. But I did like that. I even though I tried to force something and it wasn't there, I got off of it quick. So I didn't stick to a losing transition.
You're seeing things you could have done better, but you're also giving recognition to things that you did well.
Right.
To maybe help stick in your mind of like, oh, if it fails, it just back out and reset.
Yep.
Rather than just focusing on all negative.
I was happy at least I was trying to go for something. I wasn't just trying to stay on top and ride anything out. I was hunting for stuff. But I was like, you know, I probably forced that one too much and it wasn't there. But I was happy that I recognized it relatively quickly and adjusted out of it. So there was some positives, some negatives to take away, and really just kind of comes down to next time maybe being a little more patient, setting things up a little bit more instead of trying to force the issue.
Right.
But then I think also just going into the mindset things of it too, dealing with the mindset of winning is important just as much as dealing with the mindset of losing, you know?
Yeah.
Just because we win our division doesn't mean that doesn't mean it's going to be that same result next time. You know, we gotta.
I mean, even with the same competitor, because you actually had a guy you competed with a tournament or two ago, and it was a different result.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different match. It's always going to be a different match.
Yeah. Still came out on top, but it was like a much different match, really. I mean, his game plan was obviously way different.
Right.
And that created different.
Yeah, the first one I played on the bottom. This one I played from top.
That's true.
And just a different match altogether.
Yeah. Can I tell the Lawrence story? Is that okay?
Of
him and Jeff?
Sure.
So.
Well, everyone in the Northwest heard him anyway, so.
Yeah, that's true. So we have a dear friend, black belt coach.
He's been on the podcast.
Oh, he has. That's right. Everyone's favorite, Lawrence. Our own Kurt Osiander.
Yes.
And he was
John McEnroe.
Yes.
Rolled
into one. And he was coaching one of our lovely blue belts. And I happened to just be sitting, like, I was like hovering over his shoulder, giving him like time, like, hey coach, you got a minute left. And so I got to hear front row the coaching from Lawrence.
I heard all the way across the mat.
So our good buddy Jeff was competing, and he was tops in close guard, but on top. And the guy kept breaking him down with a cross collar grip. And Lawrence was like, break the grip. But instead, he was cross collaring the guy instead.
Locking himself into the...
Yes. And Lawrence kept saying, that grip's doing nothing. And then I think even it was reversed at some point too, where Jeff was on bottom and had close guard, and it wasn't really doing much with the grips. But it got to the point where he had said it so many times that Lawrence let him know that he just yelled out and said, Jeff, I'm tired of telling you the same fucking bullshit and you're not listening, so stop doing it.
Did he say that? Yeah, effing bullshit?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I heard him, and I looked over at the other coach.
Oh.
The other coach was cracking up.
The other coach is dying. The whole table, the scores table, dying. I'm just cracking up. Like, I just can't help myself.
Oh, man.
Even Jeff was just kind of like, okay.
But do you think Jeff will ever try to cross collar someone from inside the closed guard again?
No.
No, lesson learned.
No, yeah. Lesson learned.
There you go.
He might not cross collar someone ever in his life.
At least you know Lawrence cares.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, he's like a dad. It was
Yeah.
just like, I'm tired of telling you about mowing the lawn, you little shit. I have one question here from YouTube that I want to ask before we close, and it's not really tournament related, but it's do you think older guys should focus on half guard?
Can I take this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So
If your memory holds up.
So I actually do.
Think they should?
No, I'm just telling you, I do focus on half
Oh,
guard,
yeah. Why?
both top and bottom. I
Mm.
feel like I get more connection to the person, especially trying to slow more athletic people down.
When you're on bottom, especially?
Yeah, especially on bottom. I'll try to get that scoop grip sometimes, but I'll also play a lot of. I've been playing a lot of close guard too, for the same similar kind of reasons. Just kind of keep them in tight, set up my sweeps, because let's just be honest, I'm not as dynamic with my open guard.
Are you, so you like to get a scoop grip? Are you doing kind of like a hip clamp, Z-guardy kind of thing with your legs?
Yeah, I'll start out with that until I shoot an underhook.
And
When
then,
I shoot the underhook, I try to shoot the underhook and then get my scoop, not a deep half because I'm still on the side. And then I'll switch my hooks and internally rotate their hip
okay.
and get them. And then I'll actually pop their knee over mine and get them in that lever position where I can kind of knee lever them with that.
Are you more so trying to wrestle up, or are you just trying to like John Wayne them over kind of thing?
Kind of quasi John Wayne
Okay.
over. But I have a couple times I'll go into dogfight too, depending on what they
So when you're on top, you like to go right into half
I
guard
sure
if
do
possible?
for the same reasons, because I try, especially like for instance, you and your squirrely guard. I try to get one of those legs trapped, and I try to get into a half guard position on top for the same types of reasons.
To
'Cause I
kill
try
the knee shield
then
or something?
Yeah, as soon as I get knee, then I try to get chest to chest, and I try to make that contact and try to put get some shoulder pressure going.
If you're having trouble getting to chest,
Yep.
what's some of the things that you really like to do to try to, because obviously you're going to
From
be
top half?
top, yeah.
Yeah. So I have a couple different methods I use to kill a knee shield. I have a kind of a pivot where my hips lead, then I'll pivot back. Do you know what I'm talking
You
about?
tell me where you step up.
I'll step
your
up
foot.
a little bit and I'll go 90 degrees and I'll pop around.
So the leg that's trapped in half guard, let's say it's your left leg,
yeah.
and your right leg is out.
Yeah, I'm going to step my right leg up 90 degrees and actually hip into their knee shield. And
Is your right leg trapped?
no,
You just said his left leg was
Yeah,
trapped.
left leg. Okay, so you step the outside leg.
You stepped the inside leg.
Yeah. Don't you step the leg that's trapped up behind their butt?
No. The leg. So if my leg is trapped here, my left leg, and they have a knee shield here, and they're laying on their right side.
No.
Yeah.
They'd be laying on their left side, wouldn't they?
Yeah, if I have your left leg, I'm going to be laying on my left side.
Oh yeah. Got it.
He fooled you because
yeah,
he puts you on the opposite side that you like to pass.
Yes, he did. That isn't the. You're exactly right about that. I do try to trap their right leg. Yeah. Totally. You're so right.
You can only do one side.
No, I can do both, but
No, you do only one side.
He becomes dyslexic if you trap.
I
his
just
left
did.
leg.
I completely did. No,
I'm going to put you in
No, I
half
can-
guard every time on the other side, and
I
you're
can
going to
do-
just shit
No.
yourself.
Actually, that's my strong shoulder pressure. So go ahead.
Go ahead. Sucker.
Go ahead. I'll kill you.
Anyway, then I'll
do it.
Then I'll pass over to 3/4.
Okay.
3/4 mount, and then I'll do something nasty to their neck, just to try to turn their neck the opposite way. Put a lot of pressure.
At that point, you're like chest to chest.
and then I'll probably extend them out, and you know how they try to curl in.
Yeah.
I'll try to extend their body out using leverage.
He's got a nice. He does kill the knee shield with that pretty well.
I have a couple variations of that. I'll also use a. It's a variation. You know how you like that crazy dog with the weave,
Yeah.
the arm weave. I'll use a variation of that too,
Did that in the tournament.
which I like quite a bit.
It was kind of cool. The night before, Andrew and I were drilling that exact thing, and you called it out.
Yeah.
Like, do what we did last night.
Here,
That's great though.
Professor Andrea's class.
Yeah.
She showed it. And
it's a great pass. But I mean, to his point, I like to do what I can to slow down, especially if someone that is really athletic and has a dynamic guard from the top and from the bottom, especially those outside passers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to do that. Now, I do like half guard and half guard variations.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, you think half guard serves like maybe someone a little bit older, good to work on, good to focus on?
I mean, I would recommend donkey guard, but if they don't like that, then I know half guard's amazing guard. Like,
Yeah.
I love half guard.
Some people that would be good to study.
Lucas Lage.
Oh, for sure.
That's Leite.
And if you like,
I think.
if you like half butterfly, Adam Wardzinski is real good too. He has a really good half and butterfly half too.
Bernardo Faria, I believe.
For his deep half especially.
Yeah.
But in his general half is amazing too. He likes to use that lapel grip too. It's kind of nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think something to kind of expect if, I don't know this person's experience, but just know by playing bottom half especially, you're kind of committing to getting smushed. Like, it's just a natural,
Absolutely.
like you're going to kind of be in it. It can feel like you're kind of getting smushed sometimes, but you're getting into good positions through the fire.
And
you're trying to get to the hips, really.
Yeah.
You know?
And that takes a little bit of sometimes grindiness to get there.
And you should put yourself on bottom in positions. A good situational is to have them get the underhook and the crossface and put your back flat on the ground and try to work from there to get back on a side and get a knee shield back
to frame, get back.
Absolutely.
Get to your,
Really work from a deficit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of worst case scenario.
Of course, because then you're not scared to get there and you'll be more aggressive with your,
And if you do get that dynamic guy that happen to put you there right away and you're like, oh, damn it.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the things I like to do if I get flattened out in my half guard is, so if I have your right leg trapped in my half guard, but you've cleared my frame, so you flattened me out, you got your cross face. A lot of times guys will try to get really heavy into your head. One of the things that you can do is kind of grab up behind the lapel.
He does that real well.
If you can't get this arm inside, you're going to grab behind the lapel and you'll stiff arm the hip. This allows you to create a little bit of space. Now you can start potentially pummeling a butterfly half where you can reclaim this frame.
That bottom knee can come in.
That can come into an underhook and you can start to wrestle up from there. But yeah, I think half guard's a great guard. If you can get good at it, it makes the guard tough to pass.
Back in the day, was it a thing where they said half guard isn't a guard? I thought I heard that from some old school dude.
Yeah, but they proved it wrong. I mean, come on.
I think it was like Solo or something. He was just,
I don't know, man. I don't know who said that, but
sorry if I'm putting that on Solo and he didn't say that, but
I've never heard that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought I had read it was some old thing that
people say a lot of stupid shit.
Yeah, that's true.
they didn't use the leg lock either.
This podcast is evidence.
Excuse me, sir.
Andrew, please come back anytime.
Absolutely.
Immediately banned. Shut his mic off.
I was talking about Chris.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll take it. It's probably true.
Andrew, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you guys having me.
If you guys got any questions for Professor Ginge, ask him.
Yeah,
that's him. You can ask us. We'll have him on again.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
I got some time off, so
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, you can go blind. You got to be careful of that.
Thanks, y'all.
Stupid shit.
Sorry.